Alrighty, it is time for round two of the Grand Prix Whitecliff up against Volt Switch here on Black Red Knight Riders. uh, we win the die roll. We do not win the die roll once again. Two aggro matchups in a row where our opponent gets to. Oh, I'll just let them handle that. Two aggro matchups in a row where my opponent goes first. Not a good look here. And we're going to have to mulligan this hand. 5 lands, no action until turn 3 is not where we want to be. Oh, not like this. We can keep this, but we're not going to be able to cast Morbid Bloomer unless we find a green source. Time-Worn Crags, once again, really proving to be a liability more than a boon here. I like Time-Worn Crags. I think there's rationale to playing it, but excuse me. This is a second round in a row where it's proving to be a bit of a problem. That being said, we do have Root Fossil into Ominous Slaughter, which means we can hold up Omen or Root Fossil depending on what we want to do. I think I'm going to keep 6 and put Zar to the bottom. Alrighty. Temple from our opponent. They have 6 1-drops, and they do not have any in the opener. That's a good sign for us. Good enough, at least. Second Bloomer is really not what we want to see with no green sources in hand. Let's go ahead and develop the Swamp here and lead on Root Fossil. So this hand does not necessarily mean that we're going to lose outright, but 2 lands with no green sources is definitely a headache here. Pressuring Ghoul coming down, that is actually one of the things we were fine to see come down here. Perfectly happy taking 1. This is going to be something that demands we do discard cards to it pretty reliably, as, Morbid Bloomer is going to be... Or, it is going to eventually outscale Chronicle of Extinction if we don't. So we could look at just opening that, or we could look at... Oh, that is a forest. That does actually open up some very interesting avenues. We could play the forest here and go for Morbid Bloomer over anything else. I think I still want to leave open Root Fossil, because if I can activate Root Fossil and find a black source off of it, that really does fix a lot of my mana problems right now. So I'm going to go ahead and play the forest, and I'm just going to pass here. If I need to Omen a Slaughter, I will. If they have a Light Rider, this is kind of awkward that I didn't play Omen here, or I didn't play Omen on my turn. I'm going to choose not to discard here. I'm okay not discarding to the first Pressuring Ghoul trigger. If this was a Fisher, I would probably discard to it. Oh, Lord, opponent has Serve again. We are going to respond in Omen to Slaughter this now, then. Serve again is going to be a problem. It's going to make our removal a lot less reliable. But does kind of reward us for not discarding to Pressuring Ghoul there. So that is good, at the very least. So removal is going to be weaker as we go on. Temple is actually great. Temple does mean we have a turn 3 Chronicle. Turn 4 Chronicle. Our draw is really kind of rescuing us a little bit, which is nice. So we could think about holding up to activate Root Fossil or represent Omen of Slaughter, but with the Serve Again in play, I think representing Omen is not going to be that important. So let's just go ahead and run out the Morbid Bloomer. No permanence in graveyard for the Bloomer to get, but if our opponent has any form of hand attack, a discard, or anything that might torment us, we can sacrifice the Omen of Slaughter and then get it back with Morbid Bloomer. That being said, highly unlikely we will not get a Morbid Bloomer trigger this turn cycle anyways, so let's just go ahead and pass. This is just a 3-1 right now. So, opponent taps out for 3. Extraction mission on the Pressuring Ghoul. So that is going to be 2 ghouls here. 1 tapped, and then the token copy until end of turn. Lands, no discard to either. So just going to give both counters here. This is going to die and not trigger serve again because it is a token. So it's really only the one that we have to worry about. We'll take 2 in the air, perfectly fine. And our opponent will lose the Pressuring Ghoul and pay a black for a Rooftop Slink. Now that is a problem. That is going to be gradually burning us out of cards in hand, which means Pressuring Ghoul will start to scale beyond what the Chronicle of Extinction can do. We will untap and draw here. Pull of Tizerus is nice. In fact, it's so nice, I think we're going to go Time-Worn Crags, Pull of Tizerus, deploy the second Morbid Bloomer. Do we deploy the second Morbid Bloomer? No, we don't, because if our opponent flips the Rooftop Slink next turn, we want to be able to have a card in hand we don't care about to pitch to it, and right now that is the Morbid Bloomer. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to Pull of Tizerus the Pressuring Ghoul now, which will kill it. They will make a Decayed token copy. This is a 1/1 that cannot block. So we have some choices here. We could run out the Time-Worn Crags, and I think we're running out the Time-Worn Crags one way or another, so let's just play it. We could swing here, threaten the Bloomer getting back Pull of Tizerus, or hold the Bloomer back to force the Rooftop Slink flip. Forcing the flip on the Slink does actually a lot of good for us because it incentivizes them to attack next turn. We just pitch the Morbid Bloomer, and then next turn we can swing our Morbid Bloomer and Pull of Tizerus the Slink again. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm saying all of this out loud, I do like just sort of forcing the Slink out of play right now. So let's swing the Bloomer. Only the Slink can block. And they're going to take the block. We're going to pay to get back the Morbid Bloomer here. And I think I'm fine just running out the Morbid Bloomer here. Both of these are decayed. I'm not sure. I'm going to ask a judge real quick. I just want to make sure that the Serve Again token for Rooftop Slink doesn't lose decayed when it's cybersold. So just asking real quick to confirm whether or not the Synthetic Spectre would still be decayed. This is going to inform our decision here. If the Slink keeps decayed on the Synthetic Spectre side, I'm just going to replay this second Morbid Bloomer. If it loses decayed, I am going to have to Pull of Tizerus the Slink, I think. There could also be an argument for not deploying the Morbid Bloomer here and using Root Fossil with this extra mana if I don't have to pull the Slink, but I just want to make sure real quick that this doesn't act the way I'm hoping it doesn't. This does inform something potentially very scary, which is if this does work, and Split Moon in the GP chat is calling this potentially the spiciest judge call of Revolution history. Which, I mean, hey, that's a prize right there. This Pressuring Ghoul, for where we're at, 3 cards in hand to our opponent's 2. Our opponent has decayed creatures off of Serve Again. We're fighting through the Serve Again pretty effectively. And that being said, Pressuring Ghoul is just going to sit there and grow through land drops until it can kill us. I think we never discard a card to it unless we absolutely feel we need to, or if we feel like it benefits us to discard to the Pressuring Ghoul. Because it's any opponent discards a card. And then the Slink is discarding to the Slink is fine if they only I think if they only get 1 discard out of Rooftop Slink, I'm fine with taking that discard. If they get more than 1, then I need to kill it now. Cajun has replied, one of the judges in the community and also the set designer of the most recent set, says they think they know the answer but are just confirming. Internet is moving slow as dirt right now for them. So as we wait for the answer to come, and I'm going to pull it up on my phone here so I can have the answer before me without having to tab over to Discord for it. So while we wait, let's talk about our opponent's deck real quick, what we can anticipate them boarding in after this first game, and what we want to potentially look at here. So against us, Pressuring Ghoul, as has been kind of shown here, the haste is really relevant. The flying is profoundly relevant here, but I don't think it's actually all that good of a card against us. It can accelerate out our Sporeback Jargahs for us if we choose to let it. And, we kind of do have some control over how many counters it gets because we do like things going to our graveyard, which makes it easier to hit with a Chronicle of Extinction or a Pull of Tizerus. I would not be surprised to see the Pressuring Ghouls come out of our opponent's deck. I also wouldn't be surprised to see some copies of Serve Again go, but I also do think it is very good against us because all of our removal is destroy based. I could see maybe going down on some copies of Expendable Arsonist. Because in this matchup, it is pretty much pure damage. Could see them maybe going down some copies of Extraction Mission, Light Vein Arrow maybe. Don't think they want to really go down too many copies of Rooftop Slink. I don't think they really want to go down Ignited Soul. But the reason why I think they might be going down a lot of cards, because they do have a fair number of things in their sideboard that play very well against me. Crumbling Tower is a solid value engine to get around the fact that I'm trying to empty their hand. Out with the Old permanently removes any of my permanents, any of my creatures, which is very good to get around the death triggers of Sporeback Jargah or the recursiveness of Spiky or of Morbid Bloomer. Data Wipe does kind of punch back on the hand disruption plan a little bit, kind of fight our hand, as well as allow them to hit our graveyard, which is very relevant. And, maybe they want to go up on extraction missions if they feel that that's how they win this matchup. So we'll get into my potential thoughts for sideboard in a moment, but it does look like Cajun is about to get back to us with an answer for how this functions. Minion and Decayed only applies to the face that died. Okay. So the backside would lose Decayed. Yes. This is potentially huge for Volt Switch and terrifying for me. Because I now also need to think, do I just play the Morbid Bloomer? I don't just play the Morbid Bloomer. I could, hypothetically, hold up the mana, bait them into thinking that I have some like trick here, Maybe they get like paranoid about me holding up an Ominous Slaughter rather than the Pull of Tizerus. And I just Root Fossil. They flip the Rooftop Slink, and I still just Root Fossil. And next turn, I just Chronicle of Extinction -2 everything. If they play out another creature next turn, this wipes the board. If they don't play out a creature next turn, this wipes the board, and they don't, like, they just keep what's in their hand right now. I may have to Morbid Bloomer them. Or I may have to Pull of Titherus them. That's just the concern, is because if Rooftop Slink starts to get out of control, it does just kill me. Flying creatures are very hard for me to block, and the fact that this thing is untouched, or if this truly does lose Decayed on its backside, okay, the creature loses Decayed. Alrighty. So I might have to Pull of Tizerus this Rooftop Slink. We've confirmed the Slink loses Decayed. So the question is, do I want to price my opponent into flipping Rooftop Slink here and just sack my Root Fossil on their turn? Or do I want to... Oh god, I just realized, I think Servigan also returns something that is already Cybersouled back on its Cybersouled face. Good lord, Servigan is really good with Cybersoul. So I'm no longer on the Morbid Bloomer plan. I think there's no world where I play the Morbid Bloomer. It is Pull of Tizerus now if I just want to get it off the board and go for Morbid Bloomer next turn, or Chronicle, or hold up for Root Fossil activation with the intention of casting Chronicle of Extinction next turn. If they go all in on Slink, I just discard the Pull of Tizerus. If they don't flip Slink, I probably will discard Pull of Tizerus depending on how they attack. We will see. I'm just gonna pass. I think I like the Root Fossil and Chronicle plan more, because this also fixes my next draw, potentially, if I see a permanent that I'm comfortable keeping on top, or see a spell that I'm comfortable keeping on top. Tormenting Light Rider. Yikes. I'm gonna issue the K. Oh lordy. Expendable Arsonist. Goodness gracious. I think I'm pitching Morbid Bloomer here now. They're swinging just the Arsonist. Okay. We are just going to take 4. That dies now. This is actually very good. That means they're not hitting us with the Slink here. Now they are 1 card in hand. In response to the Tormenting Light Rider trigger, I am going to pay 2 and sack the Root Fossil. Gonna view top 3. Whiffing on the land stings here. Ooh, does that sting? If we hit the a black source here, we could go Chronicle of Extinction -2/-2 mode into Pull of Tizerus on the Tormenting Light Rider. But now we can't. So we're going to put all 3 in the bin and hope we hit a land. If we take 2 from the Tormenting... If we take the 3 from the Tormenting Light Rider here, this puts us to 10, which means that next turn, Light Rider attack plus Arsonist attack is 8 plus a Light Rider trigger, which is very bad for us. No, it's not a Light Rider trigger, because if they attack with a Light Rider next turn after we Chronicle, that does cost them the ability to get that end step trigger. That being said, I do think I just have to sacrifice the Ominous Slaughter. So we're going to untap. We're going to draw. Primal Fissure doesn't quite do it. Why couldn't that have been one card higher up? My goodness. All right. Primal Fissure tapped. We're going to go for Chronicle. -2/-2. So that is going to kill the Pressuring Ghoul, kill the Rooftop Slink, and make the Tormenting Light Rider a decayed token. We're just going to pop out our opponent's graveyard because Extraction Mission is something to be worth to be mindful of. Another mission here represents 4 additional damage. They ship 8 to me with the 2 Arsonists that decay, the 2 Arsonist tokens, and put me to 5. Plus get a Light Rider trigger, and then the Light Rider swings for 4 the following turn. Definitely hope they don't have another mission. And tap and draw. Very, very nervous here. That, oh lord, Salisa's Vengeance. Okay. I am going to discard the Morbid Bloomer and lose 3. Our opponent gains 3. They're just sending the Expendable Arsonist. We take 4. End step trigger. I think we pitch the Pull of Tizerus here. I think we just need to not take more damage from the Light Rider, because if we take 3 to this Light Rider trigger, then they are a Salisa's Vengeance or a Light Vein Arrow away from winning. We're going to untap. I think we're going to hold the Primal Fissure here, because if we draw an untapped land, we could surface 2 Root Fossils. So let's just draw. Second Chronicle. Okay. Let's pay 3 to surface the Root Fossil. This blocks and trades with Tormenting Light Rider. We are close to stabilizing. This is also a very awkward stat line for my opponent. 2/4 is really hard for them to punch through. We're just going to pass. Disaster scenario here is my opponent has Out with the Old. That's 3 mana. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, that's game. They've got lethal on board. Well, I did say that was the disaster scenario. All right, rough game 1. This is another rough matchup in general. I think where I want to be here is I want to be up on Forget Their Names, up on Final Fate, up on Disestablishmentarianism. So Disestablishmentarianism deals with Serve Again, which as shown in that matchup, in that first game, is very, very important. This card does really hurt our ability to remove things. But not only does Disestablishmentarianism remove Serve Again, it also removes a transformed Rooftop Slink, and it removes a Crumbling Tower while shutting down Crumbling Tower's ability to be used as direct damage. It's a very niche card in this matchup, but it's a very necessary card in this matchup, given what we're up against. Final Fate is just blanket removal against everything in their deck. All of their creatures are 2 mana or less, so this is going to kill anything on the front side and the back side. Forget Their Names is going to pad our life total a little bit, and potentially take out multiple copies of something like a Keeper of the Scale, a Tormenting Light Rider, as long as we can kill one. Cards I want to go down. Planeswalkers are really bad in this matchup. I will not have time to keep a Planeswalker. If I have time to keep a Planeswalker in play, I've already won. I just don't think I will have a whole lot of time to keep a Planeswalker in play. I'm also going to go down the path of Phoenix. I think it's just a little too slow. I do like having some hand attack in this matchup, and I could potentially keep this over Phoenix's Touch, but I actually really like Phoenix's Touch in terms of being able to hit away the last few cards in their hand, as opposed to, just like trying to take 2 cards in their hand. Because I feel like, our opponents on an aggro deck, they're not often going to have 2 cards in hand. And if they do, they might even be able to play one of them like a Light Vein Arrow. So having Phoenix's Touch to pick individual cards away is more valuable. It's also good for building that early devotion for a pull of Tyzerus. And I'm going to go down 1 Root Fossil. As kind of shown that matchup, Root Fossil's a little awkward this game, in this matchup, just because it is hard to justify spending mana on this as opposed to developing a Morbid Bloomer or playing removal, especially as we're boarding more removal in. So this is going to be my plan. We will see how this shakes up. I kind of wish I could bring in the Hardy Rough Rider. I kind of just wish this was a different card, honestly. Like, it is in the deck for the aggro matchups, and between last round and this round, I have not been happy with Hardy Rough Rider. So we're just going to go like this, and let our opponent know that we will be on the play. Well, that is a turn 1 Root Fossil into turn 2 Omen or sack Root Fossil. And if we sack Root Fossil, that's potentially a turn 3 Inner Rings Pupil. So we're going to keep 7. Go ahead on to main 1. Set the annotation here as black-green. And run out the Root Fossil. Boarded out a Root Fossil, still started with the opening hand in it. Started with it in the opening hand. Words. Opponent has a Temple of their own. Do they have the 1-drop? They do have... Yeah, they do have a Slink here. I am going to Omen that rather than using Pull of Tyzerus, I think. We will untap and we will draw. That is a Morbid Bloomer. Pretty nice here. Maybe that is reason to use the Pull of Tyzerus. Pull of Tyzerus only hits 1 toughness right now. And, it gets it in our graveyard so we can play Morbid Bloomer next turn as a blocker. Yeah, let's pull the Slink. It's just not a creature we can afford to let stick on the board. And we'll just pass here. I do have some thoughts about Slink in a general sense. We'll get to it when we eventually get to the final thoughts, whether that is after this round or after a future round. But Keeper of the Scale does come down, which does make us being ready to play into the Morbid Bloomer a little bit better, because that is a creature that does want to connect consistently turn after turn. We do also just draw the second pull of Tyzerus. We could just pull the Keeper and hold up 2 mana to Root Fossil here. And actually, you know what? I think I like that. Let's just get another Keeper out of here. And let's hold up Root Fossil activation or Ominous Slaughter. Opponent is going to make their 3rd land drop. Primal Fissure comes down. Pressuring Ghoul would have been a little scary there if they had Pressuring Ghoul plus 2 land drops, but obviously we just let it get the counters and then we Ominous Slaughter it. They're going to run out another Keeper. And we're just going to spend 2 and sacrifice this Root Fossil. Take a look at the top 3. Time-Worn Crags, Redevelop Cityscape, and Final Fate. I'm going to get the Crags tapped, and I'm going to keep Final Fate on top here. So Cityscape to bin, Time-Worn Crags to bin, and we're going to get the Crags tapped. We will draw the Final Fate. And let's just Final Fate the Keeper right now. And I'm gonna develop the Morbid Bloomer here. Because if they have a data wipe, this is really bad for us, but we do still have a 3/1 in play and they do nothing for their turn. In a pinch, if we draw an untapped land, we can play the untapped land, Time-Worn Crags their Temple. Or if they play another duel here, we can just Time Worn Crags their temple that way. 4 mana is going to come with double Tormenting Light Rider. My goodness. So we will untap and draw. Let's just Pupil. Make them discard down to 1. They pitch a Temple of Origins. Did they? They did not play the temple. Interesting. Oh, no. They played the mountain. Okay, that makes sense. For a moment, I thought they had missed a land drop, but no. We missed a land drop, and we got the Time Worn Crags off of the root fossil. We're just going to go ahead and pass here. They play Primal Fissure tapped as land for turn. That's very good for us, because now we get to untap and draw. That's another Inner Rings Pupil, which is very funny. Phynax's Touch, which might force the last card in my opponent's hand out of their hand. They've been a swamp. Okay, we're in the all clear. Let's Omen of Slaughter, which is going to pick off a Tormenting Light Rider. Let's go to combat. Swing 6. Which is going to pick off the second Light Rider. And then Bloomer, let's get back a Pull of Tizerus. And we'll just pass. It's a very good position to be in. 4 devotion right now for Pull of Tizerus. This is going to pick off anything that our opponent might have. They're going to crack this Fissure on their upkeep, go get a Swamp. There are things they could still do to try and salvage this, but right now we are in a very cozy position. Rooftop Slink's not going to cut it. We just have lethal. We Pull of Tizerus, the Rooftop Slink, swing 6, Inner Rings Pupil, deal 7. Cyber Soling this doesn't really buy them much time. Doesn't buy them any time. Just takes another game action. And I think we are in for game 3. We will draw. Pull the Slink, or pull the Spectre. And just ship. Whew, that is more like it. Inner Rings Pupil really doing its thing there. Have not liked how inconsistent and hard it has been to like make land drops in this deck, given I'm on 24 lands. It's kind of been a little shocking how rough my curves have been and how rough my mana base has been. For only, two colorless sources, for these colorless sources just keep creeping up in matchups where they're useless. Or not, rather than useless, just not where we want them to be. Just really unfortunate. So on the draw, we can consider if we want to reevaluate where our interaction is. If we were going to play Hardy Rough Rider, it would be on the play. So definitely not on Rough Rider on the draw. We could think about Hungry Blob on the draw here because it does come down on turn 3 to answer a Serve Again or a Crumbling Tower, or a Rooftop Slink transformed into Synthetic Spectre. So that's sort of an important question is, how important is Hungry Blob picking off one of those on enter? And compared to where we're at with the rest of our deck, I think Chronicle is important. Being able to keep our opponent's creatures in a relatively accessible range is really critical. We could go down another Root Fossil and go down, say, a Spiky, or go down a Root Fossil, go down both Spikies for the Hungry Blobs, just because, they're already on the Out with the Olds, and they may be on more exile-based removal. And in fact, now that I'm saying that out loud, I actually think I like that. I like Spiky, but I think it is just a little awkward here with their exile interaction. So let's just go up with the Hungry Blobs. More interaction for the thing that's scary here. So we've got Disestablishmentarianism and Hungry Blob to deal with their scary enchantments and their Rooftop Slinks. Assuming my opponent's going to be on the play here. We'll see. I will say a 2/2 is just also not like wholly irrelevant in this matchup, especially since we're trying to keep our opponent's creatures around 2 toughness. So that is nice. Just confirming a thing that I'm curious. I believe, as far as the opponent is mulliganing. We're going to keep 7 here. Because this is 3 lands with Root Fossil, Inner Pupil, and 2 Volitizers? Okay, yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought that was my opponent mulliganing to 5 for a second. Keep 7. You kept 6. Alrighty. Swamp with no other plays. We will draw. I'm going to play this Primal Fisher here. No, let's play the Primal Fisher. Just crack it. Go get a Swamp. And run out the Root Fossil. And we'll pass with the intention of Temple of Origins next turn. Unless our opponent has something to deal with here. Pressuring Ghoul. Okay. We'll take 1. I think in this case, we're going to go for the Miasmic Cove tapped and Pull of Tizerus, the Pressuring Ghoul here. Just take that out while we can. Light Rider plus Fisher. Oop, let's untap it before we draw. Omen is great here. Yeah, let's go ahead and play the Temple. Set annotation to black-green. And let's just Omen them. Sorcery speed, so we play around a second Tormenting Light Rider, and we pass. Popping out our opponent's graveyard, and we'll also pop out our own. Just to be aware of things we have to worry about. Opponent on hitting every land drop. Extraction Mission is going to bring back these Tormenting Light Riders, it looks like. Is going to push a Light Rider trigger. So that means I think I'm in on Morbid Bloomer plus Pull of Tizerus next turn. Gonna take 2. They lose the Light Rider token. And then end step, we have a Light Rider trigger. We can think about sacking the Root Fossil here. And I might be in on that, honestly. Oop, almost typed in all caps. So we could pitch the Inner Pupil. We could sack the Root Fossil. We're not sacking the Omen because the Omen is what allows Pull of Tizerus to kill it. I think we just take 3. Alrighty. We untap and draw. Final Fate is great here. I think Final Fate's actually better than Pull of Tizerus right now because it's just a more efficient use of our mana. Because we're most likely not going to get a combat damage trigger on Morbid Bloomer anyhow. So Final Fate, the Tormenting Light Rider. This also does develop a removal spell in the graveyard for us, which is pretty nice. And already, 2 cards in our hand versus 2 cards in our opponent. They draw for turn, but that puts them on 5 lands in play. There are things they could hit here that are scary, for sure. But right now we have the board initiative. We have, oh lord, data wipe. Yep, we are now locked in. Okay. Goodbye, Pull of Tizerus, goodbye, Inner Pupil, and we're going to ship everything to the exile. Something we knew could potentially be coming. What's their last card? Not something that's coming down this turn. So we'll untap, we'll draw. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to sacrifice Root Fossil. Do top 3. I think we're going to bin Root Fossil, Disestablishmentarianism, and Temple. And then we're going to play Temple tapped from the Fossil. Set annotation to black-green. Second Temple as land for turn. And let's go on over to combat. Put them to 17. We're going to pay 1 to get back Disestablishmentarianism. And pass. And getting back to Disestablishmentarianism just means that we have a check to a Rooftop Slink that comes down here. We have a check to enchantment that comes down here. Serve Again does come down. We just Disestablishmentarianism that right off the field, I think. We untap, we draw. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pay a black. We're gonna play our swamp. We're going to develop Disestablishmentarianism. We're going to pay 2 mana to make Miasmic Cove a creature. And then we're going to sacrifice to exile Serve Again. We're just going to take that off the board here. And then we're going to go to combat. Chip in for 5. And we're going to get back this Disestablishmentarianism. Three mana, data wipe. All right. That is both of our root fossils gone. We're going to untap and draw. Another swamp. All right. We play the swamp. This costs 3 to animate. Let's take a look at the top 2. Let's go ahead and ship both of these to the bottom. Actually, hold on. Maybe we keep Phoenix's Touch. No, let's ship both to the bottom. Then go to combat. They take 5. We're going to get back the Ominous Slaughter to our hand and pass. And Data Wipe does do some good here, but it's going to start, really failing them. Land drop doesn't work. We untap, we draw. Full cost Sporeback Jargah would be very funny. I think we just pay the 4, animate the Miasmic Cove, and accept that we're not getting anything here. And then we just pass, and we have Omen up if they are able to develop a creature. Pressuring Ghoul. Land drop. No discard. And that is what the deck is meant to be doing. My goodness. The Morbid Bloomer value there, really just sort of fighting as hard as it possibly could, getting back Disestablishmentarianism, getting back Ominous Slaughters, getting back Poetizers, is really just running our opponent out of resources until there is nothing they can do. Oh my goodness. That is more like what I was hoping we could have happen in game 1, but Very, very tense fight nonetheless. Very well played from our opponent there. I'm unfortunately, with us losing round one, very likely to run up against other people who are already on a loss. So I do believe this unfortunately knocks Volt Switch out of contention for top cut. Very, very unfortunate, I think, because Volt Switch's deck is very sweet, and they were one of the players in this field that I was rooting for. So I had two different versions of a sad reaction seeing that we were paired against each other, both because I really wanted to see their deck succeed this tournament, and their success would come at my loss in this tournament if they were to continue on with hopes to make top cut. But also I was worried this would be a very tough matchup, and sure enough, it was very much a tense game for all three games that we played, even if I started to tear ahead on resources there. So that does mean we're going to get to see what round three looks like. We are not out of contention for top cut just yet. We could still climb all the way back up to top cut here. We'll see how it all shakes out. So I will see you all in round three.